Navigating life after losing a child. The stories of these incredible families. Author Kelly Cervantes, whose husband starred in Hamilton, as they coped with the loss of their daughter Adelaide. Anna Berlingerio, who lost her son Luca, and Malgorzata Palka, whose daughter Justyna was killed by a charter bus as she crossed the street. Each family shares their unique journey and inspire us with their books and projects.
We are extremely fortunate to have with us Kelly Cervantes, a best-selling author and grief advocate, and her husband, Miguel, an actor and a singer.
Best known for a little role in a tiny little play called Hamilton. Welcome, and thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you so much for having us.
Kelly's first book, Normal Broken, was a personal account of the loss of their daughter Adelaide. She was just shy of 4 years old when she died.
Correct, yeah.
In that book, Kelly explored grief and the grieving process. And you have a brand new book out called The Luckiest.
Yeah.
Right? Thank you so much. Welcome back. It's so good to see you again. And thanks so much for being here.
So I have a question about your title.
Yeah.
Miguel sings a Ben Folds song in an Irish bar in Midtown Manhattan.
That is correct. Yeah. And then
I am the luckiest. And if you listen to that song, right? There's like this sort of weird, sad vibe throughout that song about kind of, and I think my wife says it much better than I do about sort of what it means to be lucky, right? What does it mean to be the luckiest person in the world? You know, I consider myself unbelievably lucky to have landed this one here, and look at me, look at her, and my buddy said I outkicked my coverage.
But no one's debating that.
I'm just saying, and yet within that sort of the bubble of what that is and what we have all of these other things that have become part of our life that someone will say, well, that's not as lucky to have experienced those things. So I think that encompasses what that means, right? What that word means and what that idea means.
Yeah, it struck me as kind of that's the beginning of your formal relationship. I would say that was the beginning of your relationship, but it formalizes your relationship. And then fast forward so many years, it becomes the title of your memoir on love and loss and motherhood and personal growth. I mean, there's a lot of personal growth in this book. So how do you end up deciding to name this book The Luckiest?
Luck is something that I have examined in my life for years and really struggled with. I think because of Miguel's position in Hamilton, I think a lot of people looked at our lives, looked at the little Instagram squares, and they saw Miguel, and me with him on the 50-yard line at a Chicago Bears Monday Night Football game where he sang the national anthem, or throwing out the first pitch at Wrigley Field, or Miguel on the cover of Chicago Magazine with Lin-Manuel Miranda. And all of that was like super sexy and awesome. And people could be like, wow, that life is so lucky. But behind the scenes, I see that magazine cover in line at the pharmacy to pick up our daughter's latest anti-seizure medication. I leave Adelaide in the hospital to go watch Miguel throw out the first pitch because the nurses on the peds floor forced me to. I am at the Monday Night Football game and texting with our babysitter, who has to be a nurse, to find out how many seizures Adelaide has had while we're gone. And so luck, I've sort of come to this understanding, is really all about your perspective. And not just the perspective of what you are aware of, but I think also the snapshot in time that you're looking at. Because from where I sit right now, looking at Miguel and I's life, and we adopted since Adelaide passed away, and we have these two beautiful children in our home, and I'm writing and speaking. Miguel is still doing concerts, and he's open to this batting. Like, our life is beautiful as it is right now, but we don't get to where we are today in this very beautiful life without all of the trauma and tragedy that happened before. And so I'm not who I am. I don't appreciate where I am in my life without everything that happened before. And that doesn't mean that I don't wish that Adelaide was still with us and that she didn't have to struggle and suffer the way that she did, and all of the things. Where we are now is really beautiful. And so it is, luck, and the idea of is something that I sort of examine throughout the book as just what that means and who decides who's lucky. And I don't know the answer to that, but I know that even despite everything that we've been through, I still feel very fortunate to have the life we do.
To just play off that for a second, if you don't mind, because you also talk about control a lot.
Yeah.
And your own personal growth through everyone has that desire to control the uncontrollable, right?
Yeah.
But I think you grew to a point where you understand what can't be controlled.
Oh, yeah.
How do luck and control interplay in your life?
I decided, so I am an eldest granddaughter. I'm an Aries and an Enneagram 3. Like everything, I am like hardwired to need to control whatever like system you are looking at. I need control. And so it is something that I have struggled with my entire life is letting go and releasing that. I sort of came to the conclusion that there is what you can control and there is everything else. And I think that luck is that everything else, whether it's good or it's bad. But that's sort of the spectrum is how I look at it. And it is a daily battle for me, ask my therapist, where I am still like, focus on what you can control and let everything else go. That said, I think that it is life's grandest illusion is what we actually can control, because the only thing we can control is this very moment that we are in and the very actions that we are taking in this moment. It is such a finite, narrow scope of what we have control of.
It's really well said. We were talking, and I know Ken has a question for you, Miguel, on this, but you can't control when you get the opportunity of a lifetime, right?
I mean, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Tell us about Hamilton. Best of times, worst of times, right? I mean,
yeah. I mean, the journey to that day when I got the job consisted of 3 Broadway shows that came and went, and I was, I made my Broadway debut, and I was on Broadway for a week, and then it was over. And then I went back to my other jobs, which was, manual labor and all of these things. And then I got part of another Broadway show. The moment happened again. I was lucky again, and I got this show, and I started, and I hung out with Green Day, and we did this show called American Idiot on Broadway, and it was this unbelievable experience. And we performed on the Grammys, and Billie Joe Armstrong was hanging out with us, and then that show was over, and then I was unemployed again, and then another time, another Broadway show, our paths crossed again, and I get to perform on Broadway again, and then that show runs its course for a year, and once again, it's over. And then I am sort of trying to figure out, well, but what happened? I thought I got there. I achieved the goal. I arrived, and now here I am trying to figure out what to do. And so thinking about my life, and we're married now, and we're trying to figure out what the next thing might be, whether that's Broadway or something else. I said, well, maybe it's not this anymore. Maybe it's something else. Maybe there's some other calling, teaching, or whatever. And, this Hamilton thing sort of came into all of our consciousness as an idea, as this, we hear about this Hamilton thing. And I said, yeah, I heard about it. I've heard of it. And I went in for the audition for Hamilton, and they escorted me to the door and said, thank you very much. Don't call us. And I said, okay, well, that clearly this is not where I'm supposed to be. And this part of my life is perhaps on a different course. And then, 6 months later, 8 months later, they call in again. I go in again. I do the whole thing. And as I just ushered myself to the door. I said, "Oh, I'm going to leave." They said, "No, stay." And the feeling started to feel a little bit more like something was happening, and the response was more, let's figure this out. And then, 2 weeks later, I get a phone call that changes my life forever. Right? I always call it like this. I say, if people sort of want to know, well, what did it feel like? How does that feel when something like that happens? And I'm like, there's part of me that's like, oh my God. Like that's in there. But there's other part of me that sort of feels that this is now a complete life shift, tectonic plates type shifting of what's going to be part of my life. Now, what they didn't realize at the time when I was auditioning in this big audition where Lynn was there and all of these, it was a really overwhelming kind of room, was that I had left the hospital my wife and Adelaide were in the hospital getting these tests done. She had just started to have seizures. We were trying to figure out what all of this meant. And so on the same day that I go and give this, the most important audition of my life, fortunate beyond any means that I'm at, even at this point in consideration, and I'm back, I've got half of my brain and heart back in this hospital room saying, well, this is not the most important thing. Right. Any other actor in the world is going to be like, this is it. It's got to be this. This is my spot. This is my shot.
Womp womp.
I knew it was coming eventually.
And it was.
Well, you started it.
I did. I brought it upon myself. And it was, but at the same time, I understood that it wasn't the most important thing that was happening. And then I got the job. And then I think, well, how unbelievable is this? This happens to somebody else. This story is somebody else's story. But also this other story that's happening at home, and a young family terrified and confused and disbelief and angry and sad, and all of these things happening at the same time. It's like, hey, you're about to go do this thing, the likes of which has never been done before. And so both of these things are happening at the same time. And I'm like, well, which one of these has the greater power here? Which one deserves more focus? I don't know. We just have to go and see what happens. And that's what we did along the journey of this show. And I still to this day, when people talk about, well, how did you do that? Like, how did you go to the theater every day? And this whole thing was happening at home. And I said, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how I did it. I don't know how she did what she had to do every day. I don't think any one of us can say, this is how I'll react.
Yeah.
This is what I'll do. This is how I'll handle that. You just figure it out. And whatever emotions are happening on that day, some days I felt so lucky. Some days I felt, like unstoppable. This is the most amazing thing that has ever happened to me. And some days all I want to do is crawl in a hole and hide, Right. And those things were happening at the same time. So I say, I don't know how we do it.
And Kelly's you're pretty open about the fact that there were days where you kind of envied this guy for being able to go off and escape what you were living in.
Days is putting it modestly.
Okay.
No, I gave up my acting career for our family so that we could, and I went and worked in hospitality so that we could start a family, so that we could have health insurance and consistent income while Miguel was going in and out of those shows. And I was able to buy our family's first home. And then the day that Miguel gets the call for Hamilton was my last day working for Tom Colicchio's restaurant group in New York City. And I was going to take over as the director of sales of another prominent restaurant group. And I was so excited for this opportunity, huge advancement for my career. And Miguel calls me at my going away party and says, I got the job, we're moving to Chicago. And I'm like, also in the back of my head is the realization that our daughter is having seizures and she can't go to daycare. And I'm like, I can't take this job. And so I've now left a second career behind.
Her new bosses, however, did say, well, I get it. I understand. Can you get us tickets?
I was so nervous about the call when she asked for tickets. I was like, oh, thank you.
So they came to the CEO, the owner, and her wife came to my very first Hamilton performance.
And they came to your last.
And they came to my last one
that's cool.
as well, with a bottle of Veuve Clicquot as a celebration. So I think
it worked out okay.
They forgave her.
Yeah.
But it was a really big challenge to go from the primary breadwinner of your family to working outside of the home to being in a support role. I overnight became Adelaide's primary caregiver. I started managing our move to Chicago and was doing everything I could to help support Miguel in his career. In turn, he is tired or what, he has, being in a Broadway show, especially a lead like Hamilton, it's not unlike being an athlete in terms of the endurance that he had to have and both physically and vocally and all these things. And so I was thrust into this support position and I resented it immensely. And in hindsight, I can now identify that resentment was actually a form of grief. Mm-hmm. What that really was is me resisting this change in our life, which was so frustrating because I had zero control over it. Yep. Back to that control theme. And so what really needed to happen is that it took me about a year, honestly, to grieve this life that we had had and to grieve the life that I had envisioned for us, both in my own career, but also for Adelaide, for our family as a whole, what we were going to look like. Coming to terms with having a daughter with disabilities and what was that going to look like for us? And then on top of all of that, moving to a city where we really didn't know anyone in Chicago and having to build community here and doing that from the ground up and really by myself because Miguel was at the theater every day. And so I eventually got there. I got to a place where I was able to find my voice again, but it took time. And I, it's interesting. I was talking to another author, a mom who specializes in parenting teens. And she said something so interesting. We were talking about our son is now 13 and about how teenagers, they cocoon during their teenage years a lot, like especially the boys. They go into their rooms and it's like pulling teeth to get them out of their bedrooms, right? Like we allow teenagers this time to cocoon in their lives. And I think what I was actually doing that year was really cocooning. I would come out of that period of my life completely transformed, stronger, better, across, more purposeful in my life. But I needed that year to sort of decompose and transform into something else. And I don't think as adults we grant ourselves that opportunity to cocoon, to understand that we are constantly becoming. We are not evolved when we get through our teenage years, that we should always be growing. Thank God I'm not the same person I was when I was 23. So I think it's really important that we continue that growth throughout our lives and grant ourselves those periods of time, be it months or a year, to allow ourselves to evolve and to accept and to grieve and to heal.
You write about grieving as Adelaide was sick, or just as you're finding out that she's sick, and that concept kind of struck me. It should be self-evident, but yeah, that's a grieving process too.
Yeah.
Being able to recognize that and understand those feelings, I think that was very interesting to me. One of the themes throughout both of your books is kind of embracing the cracks, right?
Yeah.
And it kind of tell us what does normal broken mean to you?
Normal broken. So after Adelaide passed away, I was shattered. I didn't, I was so completely broken. I had no idea how to put these pieces back together in anything that resembled myself. I didn't feel like I fit in with my friends who had neurotypical children. I was like the walking pariah of their worst nightmares. I didn't feel like I fit into my community with other parents who had disabled children because their children were still here and mine wasn't. I didn't even feel like I fit in into our family because Miguel and I grieved so differently. His grief was very private and mine was, you came within me and you were splashed with it. And so that was really hard. About a year after Adelaide passed away, I attended a grief retreat for mothers who had all lost children. And I might have had a few glasses of wine the night I signed up and then immediately regretted it the next day, but decided to still go. I figured it would either be a wonderful experience or it would make for some great writing material. Turned out to be both. But amongst these women, I'll never forget, it was our last night there, and one of the retreat leaders brought out a speaker, and she starts playing 90s music, like somewhere between like Belle Biv DeVoe and Backstreet Boys. And we are all up and we are dancing and we are singing. And it was in that moment that I'm looking around at all of these other women, these mothers who have all lost children, and none of us are concerned about what the woman next to them is thinking about them, whether they are, have they gotten over this loss or not? Should they have and we're just able to be our broken selves together. And it was in that moment that I felt normal broken. And I began to understand that I will always feel broken by this loss. Those pieces are never going to fit back together to complete a picture of who I was when Adelaide was alive. I'm never going to be that person again. I'm never going to be, just like I'm never going to be the person I was before I was a mother. These things change you. But I can be this normal broken version. I love the metaphor of kintsugi, the Japanese art form where they fill the cracks with gold, and you get to create this new beautiful piece of art where the cracks are filled with gold. And I love that metaphor for grief because I do think that this idea that you completely heal, I do not subscribe to that. I don't think we are ever healed. We are always healing. Grief is never something that you get over. It's something you learn to move forward with. And so, yes, I'm broken, but I can move forward and be a sort of normal broken, this new version of Kelly with the gold pasted in the cracks.
You together grieve differently, right? Mm-hmm. And that's true of all people, much less men and women, right? We all are wired a little bit differently, and we're going to react a little bit differently to things. And you had a really interesting quote that I think one of your friends said to you about how you wouldn't call the CEO doesn't expect that he'll fix the plumbing himself. He calls a plumber.
Yeah. Your sink is broken. Your partner can't fix it. You don't get mad at them. You call the plumber. You outsource it. And I think that we expect too much of our partners, of our spouses, to be the end all be all for us. I don't know how we got to that place in our culture, but we put so much pressure on these relationships. And I think that there's so much pressure in that. I know that I can't be everything that Miguel needs, and he can't be everything for me. So there's certain things that you can outsource. I know that Miguel is not going to lay in bed with me while I sob hysterically and then make me cry, but I have a best friend who's going to do that.
There's a lot of wisdom there.
And there's a part of me that hears that and feels terribly guilty.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Course.
Because
right.
You want to be there, you want to understand, but that was my daughter and that was her daughter, and we are, and I tell people say this a lot about sort of how did we survive this, because a lot of couples sort of don't survive these kinds of things, come out of this on the other side, and remembering that, us as a couple, exist outside of being her parents. Being the parents of our children is one part of our lives, but the other part is us as individuals, as people, as a couple, as a married couple. And part of that union is the fact that I am who I am and she is who she is. And so for someone to say, well, how do you not run the same path through this, obstacle course after you lose a child? Because to me, watching her go through what she would go through, I didn't understand what she needed because that's not what I would want.
Right.
How do I feel? What is it that is the triggers for my feelings, and she writes about it in the book where our conversation turned toward, showing grief or whatever. And I'm talking about grouting the shower or whatever. And I was like, yeah, I was thinking about this bathroom and how, our daughter will never see this bathroom. And I started crying and she's like, what? And I said, well, I was, kind of getting emotional about the grout, and how this will be she'll never be here. And she said, well, you can say those kinds of things because, her crying and her expression of grief was sort of, here I am, world. This is how I feel.
Right.
And my sort of response to that was, okay, go, do your thing. Let me know if you need me. Let me know. I'm right here. But because for me, while I'm grouting and crying, I don't need anybody over here. I got to finish this grout, and that was my process. And feeling guilty, it's like, well, I don't quite know what this is supposed to be. And then for someone to say, well, it's not supposed to be anything. It's supposed to be what it is. And then as two individuals coming together to say, okay, how do you need this and how do I need this, is kind of an okay thing, if not the healthier way to be.
It's very profound. It's very profound.
It's you have to have that conversation. Finding out from him that he was crying while grouting the shower made me feel so much better because it made me feel less alone because I knew that he was still grieving, that he was still having this process, that I wasn't alone in these feelings. So even if he's telling me about it after the fact, that still helps us heal and move forward together.
What else, today, as you now are dealing with having a 13-year-old boy, and how old is your daughter?
She's 6.5.
And 6.5. How, the grieving doesn't stop, right? It's always there, just waiting to be riled up by some wave or whatever.
Yeah.
How do you sort of move on, give your two kids what they need, and still sort of honor her memory and her existence in your family, right?
I think that we move forward with her still being a part of our family. Adelaide's pictures are all over our house. Our daughter Anessa never met her, but she still talks about her like her sister.
She's very dramatic, though, so Anessa knows to say, well, I really miss Adelaide. I'm very sad. So maybe she'll get a cookie or something. She's very smart to say, oh, I'm very sad. I miss her so much. I was like, I know you do. I know you do, baby. I know. But you still have to go to bed. You still have to eat your dinner.
But we also have spent, on Adelaide's, the anniversary of her death, we go to a sunflower farm in New Jersey. And sunflowers have absolutely nothing to do with Adelaide. It is just a nice tradition that we've built where it's nice to be outside. It's nice to be around beautiful things, and we bring home bouquets. And then on Adelaide's birthday on her birthday every year, we host a birthday party with friends, and it's small. It's in our backyard. It's bagels and mimosas, and we release ladybugs, which is our symbol for her.
Love it.
But so you find these traditions and these celebratory ways where we can keep Adelaide alive and as a member of our family, and so that we can all move forward. But I don't, that allows us to celebrate her life and not remain stuck in a place of that really sticky, gritty, disabling grief.
We just lost our dog.
Tabasco?
Tabasco.
No.
Oh,
Yes.
no. Come on.
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that.
Tabasco went to the great hot sauce factory in the sky because our second dog is Sriracha, so you can see where we're going with this.
That's really good.
The next dog will be Cholula. But so Tabasco, finally we said goodbye to Tabasco a few months ago, and part of this, process, right, is to sort of make sure that we are, us as the parents are healthily, dealing with this and remembering and keeping her. Kelly says this all the time, like the biggest fear is that the memory gets super cloudy and fuzzy, right? Thank God she's a good writer. You know what I mean? Thank God she can write these things down. So
I was going to say the writing.
It's beautiful. It's unbelievable.
Is a great tribute.
To remember. Yeah. And I said this before about how I knew about what she did. I went to the theater and I would always talk about, my job was I would do my job and everyone would stand up and clap at the end of my job. And I wished everyone would stand up and clap for her. And now she writes these things down, and this is what I did. This is what that life was. This is who that person that deserved a standing ovation was actually doing. And I was like, yes, let's clap some more, because it's very clear and so beautifully said who that person is. So I am proud husband moment for that.
Tabasco.
But back to Tabasco. I digress. So Tabasco passing away was it was kind of a moment where I was wondering how we were doing as a family, right? So we have these transitions, and Jackson, our son, was just 6, 7.
7.
When
that was
when
sorry, I'm wired.
We're 86. Yes, I did it.
Didn't we just do this on Instagram the other day?
I did it.
I was like,
6,
oh,
7.
babe.
I wouldn't have done it. I wouldn't have known.
I couldn't let
But
it
now
go.
everyone who hears this will do it immediately after I say that.
You have a teenager and you're out.
So, when she died, he sort of went internal, and he sort of, I think, found a way to protect himself by not showing us that he was upset. I think he was protecting us. He sort of sheltered us by not letting himself get overly emotional, and we were always so worried. I was like, I hope he doesn't take that as a cue of how to live his life. We are moving forward here, and there's pictures everywhere, and he's got pictures of his sisters on his phone, and he has sisters, and that's how we live. That's how we operate. That's how we live as a family. And so Tabasco goes, and he goes to school, and he comes home, and I thought, well, this is going to be interesting to see how he feels. And Tabasco has been around his whole life. He was really grumbly in the last couple of years, but they grew up together. They were together. They weren't cuddly. They weren't sort of man's best friend. Oh, how adorable these two kids! But they lived together, and so to sort of wonder, like, where is his emotional state? Who is he now as a 13-year-old kid? And how is he going to process this? And he walked in, and he saw Tabasco. We had him in the little box, and we were going to bury him, and he just started bawling. And I was like, yes.
That's probably good. Right.
That is exactly what you should do here. Process it, understand it, feel it, and
be your mother's son, not your father's son.
Yes. Yeah. Or if you do, like, that's fine too, but make sure I want to know. I want to see it. I want to spy to see that we're all here together. We've gone through this together, and we can feel this together. And part of that loss is the loss of your sister, and feeling that together. And we, put him in the ground, and we hugged and we cried. And I was like, this is how we should be. And this is how we know we are healthily dealing with life, and we will be okay moving forward.
You found the balance between grieving and supporting.
Yeah.
You got to be able to do both.
Yeah.
And I don't think, I think of like the grieving and the healing, the grieving and the supporting. It's kind of finding that balance. It's like this fictitious work-life balance that does not exist. Like you cannot have that balance. But ideally, when you look over, like you can't have work-life balance in a day, and maybe not even in a week. But ideally, if you look over the course of a month or you look over the course of the year, you do have that balance. And I think of that in terms of grief and healing and supporting each other, that, you know, maybe you have one day that is really grief heavy and you have another day where it's a little more healing. But over the course of time, you can look back and you can see that there is a balance. And so not to put pressure on ourselves that we should be in this place on this day or that place on that day, that you really need to look at over the course of time, because you really do ideally find that balance in months and years and not days and weeks.
Well, the publisher says that your memoir follows Kelly's wildly unpredictable journey and the role luck has played in her life, both good and bad. It is one woman's beautiful, complicated, and ongoing quest for self-discovery. Having listened to it, I've been listening to your voice. I have not been reading. I couldn't agree more. It's really a profound introspection on life.
Yeah.
And sometimes loss is part of life. Always loss is part of life.
Always.
And what you've given the reader is really, really, really profoundly appreciated as a reader, listener. It truly hit me in ways that I haven't been hit in a long, long time. So bravo on a job well done.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I do. I hope it connects with people. I like to say that we are not that special. We are special in all of the ways that PBS's Mr. Rogers said that we were. But our general life experiences, the emotions that we feel, the patterns that we go through, they are not unique to us, which is one of the reasons that I am so passionate about sharing stories, be them my own or other people's stories through my blog or whatever it may be. We have to share. I think that is such an integral part of being human, is connecting with other people and recognizing that we're not alone, that we that this human experience is shared. Yeah.
I think that's profound, but also that's one of the things that makes your work important. Sharing these stories with other people who don't have the same kind of resources, the same kind of perspective or introspection, and to understand what they're going through. So thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Well, thanks for being with us. You want to give that a little plug?
Listen.
Go for it, babe.
Or read.
Listen. Go ahead and listen to this book. Read it. This has so much Riz. This is low-key, bussin', no cap. Which means go get it. And from one proud husband about his amazing wife. You should check it out.
Thanks, babe.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you so much.
You.
Got it. Thanks, guys.
Welcome back to this very special episode. It is my privilege to introduce my client, Anna Berlingerio. Anna lost her son in a very tragic and preventable incident at a Chicago area hotel just 5 years ago. Anna, welcome and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me here today.
Can you tell us, first of all, what would you like the world to know about your son, Luca?
That he was a very special boy. He was always happy. He was best brother, best friend to my older son. Always welcome people with his big smile, very kind heart. He was a very caring little boy, loved nature, loved being outside. He loved dinosaurs. That was his favorite thing to play with. And his favorite color was green. I want people to remember about his big smile, and he was always kind to people.
Now, it's been about 5 years since you lost Luca, right?
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about the things that have helped you on your grieving process or your journey?
Of course. First of all, it was very helpful to be around other parents. They lost children, just to learn how to understand this process, how to learn how to heal. The most would help me, therapy, talking with, other people, support from family, support from close friends, and working with nature. That's the most helped me when I started working with flowers, and that was the biggest help.
Okay. So therapy and seeking out the company of others who have been through it.
Yes. Yes.
And we're further along in their process in that journey than you. Unfortunately, it seems that people aren't always very good at providing comfort, particularly if they haven't experienced a loss like you have. We don't know what to say, so people say things that sometimes make it worse. Have you experienced that?
I have, yes.
Okay. Tell us a little about that.
I mean, I want people to be just comfortable. If you want to say something, if you want to reach out, that's the best thing. Don't be afraid. Ask questions. And, with those most difficult days, dates like birthdays, holidays, don't be afraid to pick up the phone and call or text. It's, those dates are very difficult for us, and I understand because I had experience like my friends, they just didn't know what to say. They were afraid, like, to mention Luca's name. And honestly, for me, that's wonderful if you bring his name. If you say something, your best memories about my son, like how you remember, if, of course, to people who knew my son, just those little things, how you doing, if you need anything, if you want to talk, just be yourself, don't be afraid. There's never wrong to ask or make a phone call or text message or something like that.
Okay. That's an interesting point, because I think a lot of people might be afraid to remind you or to bring it up. But is it ever really gone? Is it ever really out of your mind?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
No.
So just ask, how are you doing on his birthday or the anniversary of his death? And are there other days that are difficult for you that other people might not realize?
Always. First day of school, first day of summer, it's always difficult. I'm sorry. Even, like a spring break, anything, it's like vacations, it's not going away, it's always with us,
Mm-hmm. So there are triggers everywhere.
Yeah.
How have you learned to cope with those triggers over time?
I try to see, turn stuff to join, seeing other kids, of course, always, makes me think, and wonder how would be, when my son would be here. But at the same time, seeing other kids brings me happiness, he was always happy. He was always around kids. He loved people. And seeing this brings me memories, the sad memories, but at the same time, I remember those good days, he was always happy and he was always around playing, singing, laughing.
And how old was he when he died?
He was 5.
And his older brother?
4 years different, sorry.
4 years difference.
Yes.
So, and were they close?
They were very close. They were like best friends. They were like best brothers. It was, yeah.
You mentioned nature and getting involved in things as things that have comforted you. Tell us about Luca's Green Walk. What is that?
So Luca's Green Walk, it's a memorial event to honor his life and celebration. And we always do this around his birthday, bringing people together, bringing friends together, neighbors, strangers. Reminds me that his journey, it's still continuing. It's not over. Celebration and charity brings healing and brings our family closer. Reminded to everybody, about his birthday, and just to celebrate his life. Every year we inviting people, and for the last couple of years we work with Chicago Lighthouse. We raise money for this amazing organization. They help blind kids, veterans, and blind adults.
Right.
I felt something like this giving back, it brings lights again, to our life. It's like if we can help through doing something like this, through this event, I think it's something wonderful, showing people Luca is still with us, even he's not here, but, he always brings the smile to people.
The event you have at the Grove, which is a beautiful wooded kind of event space.
Yes.
In the northern suburbs. Why there? Why in the woods? Why
it's a very special place. It's beautiful, a lot of nature, green. It was my son, one of the favorite places when I used to take them. Yeah, he was running around, he was playing, love to walk around. So I chose this place because I used to take my kids there. So we used to play there, walking around.
Okay.
Yeah.
You mentioned a big part of this event is charitable.
Yes.
Why is that? Why did you want to do something that raised money for a charity in Luca's honor?
I felt, those darkest days, I felt like I can bring something to light up. And during this celebration of his life, I felt like we can help others. Like it's very important to me, not only just to be there and have a beautiful walk with friends, family, neighbors, but I think it's very important to help others. So that was the reason, I thought, if we can celebrate his birthday doing something like this, maybe we can bring people together and raise money and help others, especially, blind children, which is very important. So that's the idea came, to do something like that.
Okay. You, so the last several years, the Lighthouse for the Blind has been the charity. And how have you chosen, but there's been other ones in years before that.
Yes.
How have you chosen the charities?
I just felt very special connection with Chicago Lighthouse. We had couple events before together, and I felt like I met couple of children from, the place, and I felt like this is something special. That was one of the best things we can do, and so I chose Chicago Lighthouse.
Okay. Now, each year, the invitation has a bunch of dinosaurs on it.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Well, so green dinosaur, it's his sign. It was his favorite. Green because of his favorite color, and green dinosaur, it was his favorite toy, and I have to say the green dinosaur, it's his sign, so that's why it's always there with us.
Now, you just had the 5th walk.
Yes.
This past summer, correct?
Yes.
What has the walk meant to your family?
It's our new tradition. It brings people closer, brings the memories, and also show people the tragedy we can turn in something wonderful, and have him around us every year on his birthday. and reminded people, take the little steps, like with grieving. But remember, be grateful for every single moment in your life. I think it's very special to us because it's bringing everyone together. This is like a one day in a year when we can remind people, because people don't remember sometimes, life goes, but to bring everybody and introduce them to this event, like what is exactly like celebrating his birthday, celebrating his life, helping others, raise money, help other people and kids. And I think he would be really happy about that because, he was always, very kind. He was very worried about his friends at school. And yeah, so this is why it's very special to my family.
You and your family have also participated in the Chicago Police Memorial Foundation walk, including right after you lost Luca.
Yes.
How did you find the strength to do that?
Supporting them, all those heroes we lost, support the families. By doing something like this, I felt like we can understand their grief more. Until I didn't understand the grief the same way until I lost my son. And I felt like this is very important and it's very special to my family to support something like that. And this is like another tradition. Like we have the Walk for Luca. We have Walk for Chicago Lighthouse. And I think this is very important just to be for those people the same way how they were for us in the very most difficult time. And, introduce my son even to something like that. Like it's very important to support others in this, in loss, and support them in this difficult grief.
You, Anna, are a very talented floral designer. Tell us about how that's helped you in your grieving process.
That was my biggest therapy. I always love flowers. My son, actually, he was always, coloring, making pictures, with his little suitcase with crayons outside. And I felt like I want to do something about, something more about that. So with the name Luca Garden, my husband and my son actually helped me to choose. It's like 3 years of journey for me. It's still new, but I'm really enjoying. I feel like, fresh flowers always bring smile to anyone, birthday, sadness, or different occasions. And I felt like I'm really enjoying and I'm healing. This is like my healing process, doing, working with flowers.
Okay, and the name of the floral shop is Luca Garden,
Luca
right?
Garden, yes.
And we actually have a picture of Luca.
Yes.
And
yeah, that's
a beautiful flower. Now, did he make that?
He did, yes.
Okay, normally talents go from parent to child, but maybe it went the other way around here.
I guess so. Yes.
So you mentioned earlier Luca's love of nature. Has that been an inspiration to you in your business?
Absolutely, absolutely. This is why I started working with flowers. He was always around nature. He was always around flowers. In fact, like you can see, he loved flowers. And that was my idea, to start it, doing something, in my therapy, my going day by day, making someone else happy, bring smile to their lives. And I think everybody enjoying fresh flowers and, beautiful bouquet. And so this is how I started. This is like my healing process right now.
Okay. My understanding is Luca was quite the painter.
Oh, yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Oh, he used to love paint, love a lot of colors. He he could spend hours outside just listening music and just sitting there on his little chair and paint, you know. Of course, he was trying to paint dinosaurs.
Of course.
Yeah.
Do you have any advice to to lawyers like myself, representing people who have experienced a loss like yours? At the very least, how to not make it worse.
Be patient. Patience, it's because we are going every day, it's very different. And like we had experience, you know, like some days were easier, some days were very heavy. Yeah, just don't be afraid to ask how we doing, how we feeling today. Don't be afraid to say the child's name. Just be patient, I think.
On the homepage of your website, lucagarden.com, there's a little green dinosaur.
Yes.
How are dinosaurs a sign?
First of all, because was his favorite, the green dinosaur. Everywhere after losing him, when we took first vacation or I was walking my dog, I always found the green dinosaur. I found the green dinosaur on the sidewalk. We were flying, I believe, to Colorado, and that was kind of first very difficult vacation. That was, remember, Thanksgiving. And we found a green dinosaur on the floor in the airport. So it's very special to me and to my family because when we see the green dinosaur, we know he's always with us. So this is why I chose on my website page to have the dinosaur, because it's about him, to honor him and to remember this is about his being with us. Even he's not with us physically, but his spirit, he's always with us. And giving someone flowers, I feel like I'm giving the smile and, you know, part of him, you know.
Luca saying it's going to be okay.
Yes.
How would you describe him in a sentence?
Always smiling, always happy, open mind, and very curious about everything, and loving little boy.
You shared a lot of photos and videos of Luca, and I will say that you're absolutely right, always smiling. Occasionally there's a little bit of mischievousness in that smile.
Yes.
He definitely seemed like the youngest.
Yes.
How do you want Luca to be remembered?
I want people to remember him as a little boy with a big heart. I have to say, like, no matter where he went, no matter, you know, people start talking to him, he left always the smile, the kindness. I mean, everything about him was like a warm room full of joy. You know, he was always happy. He was always good friend to children from preschool, and loving nature, soccer, bike. You know, he was like very active little boy.
What advice do you have for parents who are in the position you were in 5 years ago, 4 years ago, you know, who've just lost a child?
Don't be afraid to ask for any support, for any help. Don't think like you will bother people. I was kind of in my situation was like, I didn't want to bother people. I want to be, you know, on my own. But it's always moment like you need to talk to someone. And I'm not saying about the therapy, anything like that. I'm talking about like people, even neighbor, or if somebody's reaching out to you, do you need something? Or I was always saying, no, I'm okay. If you need to talk to someone or just 5 minutes to spend, cry, just reach out for help, you know. Don't be afraid, like, because sometimes people don't know how to react, to mention his name, to say anything about the child. I feel like as more as you talking about your child or anyone you loss, I think it's very important to, bring the memories, tell the stories, reach out. Don't be afraid.
We were talking earlier about how people, when they encounter someone like you've had this kind of loss, they don't know what to do, but they want to help, right? So that's a very good point. Sometimes we have to let them know how, and that it's okay, right?
Of course, yeah, just don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Reach out, make a phone call, text, anything, show up. Like my very good friend, like she didn't even ask. She just showed up by my front door and was like, listen, we're going for lunch. Let's talk or something, Don't be afraid. And first of all, like people really are so afraid to mention the child's name. No, this is the first thing, like it's very important to talk about it, say a name, just be yourself. If you feel to call, if you feel to say something, if you have any memories and you want to bring it, just do it. Don't be afraid.
Anna, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your experiences.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a wonderful talking to you. It was a good experience. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you.
I am honored to be joined by one of my favorite clients of all time, Malgorzata Palka.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Malgorzata lost her daughter tragically almost 15 years ago now.
Yeah.
She has moved through that loss and that grief and done some really amazing things for herself, for her family, and for her daughter's memory. And so thank you for talking with me today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. One of the most interesting pieces of Justyna's life that I learned through my representation of your family is that she was actually born in Poland. And I say that's interesting because I knew you all as coming from Dortmund, Germany. But she was actually born in Poland. Tell me a little bit about Justyna as a baby and growing up through her life.
Yeah, Justyna was born in Kraków, as my other sons also in Kraków, Poland. Beautiful city. You need to visiting one day, please. And she was the youngest child of my kids. We all loved her, because she was a girl and I got 2 boys, and everybody just took care about her, that nothing happens to Justyna. We sing with her, we jump, we did everything. But when she was 1 year, we decided to move to Germany.
And what happened in Poland that kind of had you thinking maybe you needed to move?
End of April was the Chernobyl,
Chernobyl,
yeah. And we were worried about us, was nothing to eat. We didn't know what to do, no informations. And Justyna was something sick because she fell down after she got very high temperature. And we didn't know what happens, why. And no one doctor in Poland could tell us or explain this. But when we moved to Germany, they helped us, the doctors. They told it will be good when she finishes, so when she will be 7 years old, then everything will change in her life. But I need to use very strong medication against the fever, not so small one like for babies, very strong,
Yeah.
Because I don't want she will be blue again and I will be scary about her life. So like was in Poland, and my husband, Justyna's father, need to take her tongue from the throat because we thought she will be dead. So she was so blau. Yeah, but everything was good and it's never happened again.
You had a very difficult childhood, but I know that the childhood you gave for your children was very positive and encouraging, and you were a very, very good mother. I know that from talking to your boys. And
Thank you, yes.
what a beauty that you created in Justyna.
Yes. You know, I was very strong mother because I always respect, something to do, good notes in the school and help at the home because it was 3 kids, We didn't have any family in Germany.
When did Justyna first start thinking about coming to the States for university?
We start to talk because she was very talented and she studied in one of the best schools on the world, And I tell her about the School of the Rare Institute here.
Right.
And she didn't know. Then she decided to come, but her first semester she studied business in Columbia College.
Right.
Got the best notes there, but then Justyna called me and said, Mama, when I see the students walking into the School of the Rare Institute, I am so jealous. I want to study there. We don't do it. Go and ask if you can do it, yeah. And she did everything. She needed to make TOEFL test like the same days, and she thought, I am not ready, but she did. And she passed the TOEFL test. Yeah. And she was taken.
The School of the Art Institute of Chicago, certainly one of the world's premier places for artists, young artists, and she was really interested in design.
Design, but she took lessons on visual communications.
Visual communication.
Visual communication. She was like artistic and some meaning, in her art is also some meaning, She wants to tell the world it was special about her art. And she was really very good, She finished this in 3.5 years.
Right.
She works very hard. She also used me for many things, to go to library, bring books, to buy books, then bring the books back because they were too expensive. She just read what she wants. I need to help her by small things like cutting down something, but I was very proud because her brain worked both sides, not only like artists have just one brain. She also was good in mathematics, and she could count,
She had both, yep.
Yeah, her essays I never saw her essays during her study because wasn't time. We always were busy, and she didn't tell me. I didn't ask because I didn't know what to ask, what you did. But after she passed away, I read everything, and it was so moving, so interesting that I thought I need to show the world what she talked about. And it was fantastic,
Yeah. So you have a new book that's going to be turned into a play starting in April of 2026. She Simply Disappeared, Unsent Letters to My Daughter by Malgorzata Palka. Tell us a little bit about that book and that project.
Yeah, this project helped me to change my life, to start to launching. Yeah, before I was more upset, I was quiet, but it started to help me. And here on the picture, I am writing some notes to Justyna, and Justyna's face mirror like in the glass, table glass. It is a nice book to read. I tell you, I write about emotions, but they are released later by their readers,
Yes.
And they can think about, and most important is also they can think about their own life, what's really matter in their life, you know?
Right. And maybe help some people in the grieving process too.
Yes, yeah.
Some people that are going through loss, like you did, and trying to find a way to the other side.
Yeah,
right?
and also every family is interesting, and has a lot to tell. Yeah. And everybody can do also on different way, not book and maybe painting.
One of the things that we are exploring, in this podcast is grief and sorrow, and how people like yourselves process that grief and move through that grief and somehow find, a way to go on even in the face of grief. I'm wondering if you have any insight into that for us.
It is really very long process, You cannot change from one day to other. with me, it took 10 years until my son Tomek told me, let Justyna go. We are also here and we need you. They are start to think what I can do to feel better and to have different life. So what can I do? Then I start to write the book who can also help other people. They can think about their own ideas about their grieving. So
Sure.
Everybody is different, yeah. And I found this way what helps me a lot, and it works.
Yeah.
It works. I like my life now. I do a lot. Sometimes I am busy. Sometimes I don't know in the night where I am because I travel a lot. So with my granddaughters,
Yeah.
and they decide what to do. It's good. It changed for good, you know. My life changed for good.
You kind of rediscovered yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. What I never talk, I will be able to.
Right.
No.
Right. Right.
Yeah, because on the start you feel like my mom always I do things this she teach me. I need to do what she wants. Then I did everything for my family, for the kids. Then I start to think about myself, and it works. Really, it works.
Well, you deserve all the happiness in the world.
Thank you. This book make Ogilvy and Mother with Justyna's work. They want to show me how Justyna works. How
they made that for you.
They make it for me. Her writing, you know, her thinking and project. I was very surprising, you know.
Yeah.
It is wonderful book, you know.
Yeah.
It is really wonderful book about him. And number 11, because it was her number. 11 is the most important, most perfect number for all prime numbers, yeah?
Prime numbers?
Prime numbers.
Yep.
And Justyna lived on 11th floor. Her apartment number was 1111. She works for Chicago Tribune on the 11th floor. And also she works for Ogilvy and Mother at 11th floor. Also, she thought that 2011 will be her year and it will change her life. Like that change for bad. But it was her number. She also put the number here into her logo. This is Justyna Palka.
Right.
This is the graphic design for paragraph. Justyna's name means the follow the law. Justyna, yeah, Justyna, and
She who follows the law, right?
yeah. Follows. She was always correct, and here she put also 11 and her Justyna Palka.
Yep.
Normally it looks like this, but Justyna moved this to make it for her logo. What I have also here. We all have her brothers and her father. Yeah.
Yeah.
We have her with
And
us.
paragraph is new beginning too, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
And I've always thought that was part of what she was trying to say with her visual here, you know, that she was always interested in sort of new beginnings, right?
Yes, she was never afraid, you know, to do things, to meet new people, to start new everywhere. She was very nice girl, you know, smiling and.
Unfortunately, we lost her in 2011.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, it's a tragedy that in representing your family was hard for me to get over because of the abruptness, how quickly she was living this wonderful life, working at Ogilvy, taking the world by storm, and then how quickly it ended. And I
cannot believe.
I'm just a lawyer that represented her family. I never had the privilege of meeting her. But for her mother to have her literally walking to your apartment, right? You were living here in Chicago. She was only 2 blocks away from home. And then
Just one block.
she's just gone.
Yeah.
How did you deal with that? I mean, how did you get through those dark days following that terrible, terrible tragedy?
I don't know. I didn't know what to do. I just thought maybe I pack everything and go with her away. I wait that somebody kill me too on the intersection like her, but the death didn't come. Then I didn't really know what to do. Then I start to look into her stuff, and I found beautiful things what she left behind, and I want to show this the world to, like, you know, not impressed to
sort of honor her,
and to show the other people what they can do in their life. You know, I want to inspire them.
Can we play the audio clip of the introduction of that book? It's really, really well stated, I think.
More than 10 years ago, my daughter died in a terrible accident. She was a 26-year-old woman, young, talented, and full of life. My child. I did not want to go on living, but my death would not come. I did not know how to cope with the loss of my child. How was I to go on? I focused on commemorating Justyna and what she had achieved in her short life. This gave me the feeling that she hadn't gone away and that she is still by my side. In 2015, I published a book dedicated to Justyna, titled She Simply Disappeared. But I still suffered. In my thoughts, I would often talk to my daughter, and I also wrote to her. I wrote a lot. The book I am presenting to you is an attempt at saying goodbye to my child. It is also a bit of a journey, my journey into myself.
Is that true? Kind of pulling together her works and reflecting on all the wonderful things she had done kind of allowed you to feel like she was still with you?
Yes, all the time, and helped me to survive this terrible tragedy, you know. I feel like Justyna is always with me. I ask her questions and I answer myself, but I thought she will answer like that too. This helps a lot, really helps a lot. And the beautiful book made me also very proud, you know, that something will be left behind when I die for the future generations.
You write in this book, the book I'm presenting to you is an attempt at saying goodbye to my child. It is also a bit of a journey into myself. And what I'm hearing you say is that you have kind of rediscovered yourself.
Yes, I never knew I can be an actor, really. And now I will play in the theater perform. This will be middle of January. I play manager there in one, what is also fun. And my book, this book, is also adapted for a play and will be 2nd of April next year in Chicago. Yeah.
April of 2026.
2026. This is also amazing, you know, I never talk about, but maybe it will be inspiration for other people. And also I did design in my home. This is here to show, I need to tell you because this is moving. They are Justyna's words. Love is in the details, be creative and celebrate life. And I put this on the wall during COVID time to inspire my guests, you know. And I think this is beautiful art.
Those are Justyna's words.
Justyna's words.
Now in your place.
In living room, yeah. And they are really very big, you know.
I bet.
No one can miss this.
What about her blue jeans? Do you still have her blue jeans in the apartment?
Yes, I have the blue jeans.
Yeah.
I framed them, and they are hanging in Justyna's room in Krakow now. And I love watching them, and I always find something new. But when I saw Justyna when she was 16 years, in these jeans, colored hair, very dark, black, and have second-hand clothes on her, I was so shocked that I didn't know what to do. We should meet in the city, Dortmund, to go for shopping, but I just turned away and walked home because I was so shocked how she changed. Today,
were you disappointed?
I was very disappointed because she got blonde hair, looks beautiful, and next day with the pony cutting like this, the dark hair, she looks not like my daughter.
Showing that little bit of rebellious side that she always
but
had,
she
right?
wants to she decided to show herself, she was first of her entire group of students in the school to show herself like that, but today the pants are for me like art of art, and I love them. They smell still after Justyna, and I am thinking,
wow,
nicely. I am happy to have this. The art what she painted on these pants. Everything talked, nothing just, I do this or this. She always have some meaning, put some meaning in this, in her art.
Yeah. Well, I think there's so many ways that she still speaks to all of us, right? And the jeans are definitely one of those ways that she kind of still reminds us of who she was and what she stood for, right? And that she wasn't afraid to be a little different, do some things that weren't expected, right?
Yeah, I still feel her, when she died. So in few days I should fly to Poland because I was invited for a wedding. I didn't go there, but I wrote emails to the people, and the letters jumped from one word to other words and mixed everything, and the people couldn't read what I wrote. It was many things like this. 2 days ago, I was very emotional about our talking today, our meeting today.
Sure.
And I also tried to write something, and I couldn't copy, paste, nothing. And the computer was on one time black. I think, oh my God, battery is dead. And I lost probably everything what I have there,
Right.
I took computer, went to Apple Store, and wait 1 hour and 20 minutes for the doctor, computer doctor.
Yeah, right.
In this time, because I was too nervous, I think I need computer, then I bought new computer. And then the guy came, checked my computer and thought everything is perfect. Battery is very good. We can buy the computer from you when you want. I think Justyna was with me. Maybe she saw on this way, don't be so nervous. So I am with you and everything will be good.
Well, it's been amazing sort of sitting here with you after all these years and reminiscing about the beautiful, wonderful Justyna Palka.
Yeah,
she really, in 26 years, she made such an impact. On so many people.
I was 26 when I gave a beer to her, and she died with 26. This drives me crazy. The numbers drive me crazy because I am also mathematical, and I cannot believe. But she did so much in her 26 years, like you said, other people don't do help their whole life,
Right.
A lot. And in the book, it's not everything what she left because it wasn't possible.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, you've honored her memory in a really, really, really meaningful way. And I give you a lot of credit for that because, as you said, there's times where you just wanted to be gone because you couldn't imagine a life without Justyna. But you've fought through that and persevered and really honored her.
Yeah, and I am also very thankful for Ogilvy and Mather, where Justyna works, because they established Justyna Palka Scholarship Fund at the School of the Art Institute.
Yes.
And they open their office in Chicago for students who are working there and learn from the School of the Art Institute for actually visual communication. This is amazing. And we try to increase the money there is more and more. And this makes me really very happy because they told me the stipendium will be forever.
Well, thank you. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for sharing your stories. And thank you for trusting us, so many years ago with your case. It was truly
it was the best. So, I didn't know what to do, but when I found you, you were so great man with a lot of feelings, also understanding, you know.
Well,
And I
that's the
try
least
to
I
do-
can do. Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys have lost so much, and I hope our work somehow, you know, provided some justice, some
Yeah.
sense of justice and closure.
Yeah.
Justyna Palka will live on forever through your memories and through the memories of Sebastian and Tomek and her father Ludwig too, I should say, and
Yes.
of course Danny. So you guys will always hold a special place in my heart.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you.
Thank you. That's a wrap.